Good afternoon, gentlemen. Welcome to part six, which is going to be wrapping up this series on how to yield farm. I hope you found it useful so far, and then we're going to cover one more thing before I may look at doing a more in-depth version of this sort of tutorial. If people like it and found it useful, I'll obviously do an intermediate version, or if some people requested an even dumber down version of this. So it's totally up to you guys. You can steer the channel how you want and content-wise. So this video is going to be on double pairs. Dual pairs. So dual paired assets tend to yield way better. Sometimes double, sometimes triple of the actual pair. Now the upside is you get more yield and the capital gains does move together and they stay in range longer. So you see these ranges, you're always messing with them, they're bouncing in and out of range if it's too wide, too small. Dual assets tend to move together. Think Bitcoin and Ethereum always move together. They go up together, they go down together. So they're more likely to stay in range. Now, the downside is you can be in range, but two assets can go down together. So your balance just keeps dropping and dropping. Same way we saw Ore and Solana fall together. Drop this in a previous video, maybe part two or three. Link is in the description if you want to watch the whole playlist. But going down together, they sync together as well. So that's the downside. So you can be like, oh, it's okay, I'm in range, but then you look at your balance and you're like, whoa, I've lost $50 out of my $100. I'm down 50%. So what we're going to touch on is always go in with the idea that you wanna actually trade these coins when you yield farm them. Do I want to buy Bitcoin at $100, $100,000, and pair it with Ethereum at 3,000? Is it gonna, is Ethereum gonna 2x? Stuff like that. So you want to be aware of that. So let's give you some examples. Off the bat, we've got a bad example here. So USDC, but wrapped Ethereum and Solana has slightly more in terms of yield. It's basically the same. But we can give you an example into meme coins as well. So let's take a look at, I don't know if it's even going to show up, but Fartcoin has a TVL very large. So Fartcoin in this one has a small TVL, so we can just disregard that. But Fartcoin useless produces 1.8. Fartcoin pump is two major assets. They're in the billions and it's producing 2.7. Now, if we look at, oh my God, we look at a USDC version, it's not even getting zero point 0.1. So there is a difference. If you pair these meme coins together, they can absolutely fly together. And that being said, I tend to always look at meme coins, pairing them together. But you want to pair them together with assets like, I don't know, let's say you hold Fartcoin and useless. Yeah, let's say. And instead of making two pools, like, oh, Fartcoin USDC and useless in USDC, why not just pair them together and you can get a really high APY? Now you can see here, all the way along here, they have pretty much moved together. Now it's right that you find assets that move together. Yeah, you do not want to find assets that are um, totally different. So you don't want a meme coin that is 100k market cap pairing it with Fartcoin because they'll just go out of range very quickly. You want them to kind of be around the same market cap and same kind of meta, in my opinion. So let's say we went in with a 10% range. I think would argue that this is likely to kind of stay in range for maybe a few weeks. And we don't have to have a wide range. You can if you want. Let's say, for example, we went in with a 30%, which is still yielding us a very respectable 2.6. Now, this needs to offset both coins dropping because Fartcoin useless, in my opinion, would be a good entry right now. In fact, I may open this pool up because this wide of a range and this much of a range and our yield is 2.6 is very healthy in my opinion. Yeah, if you drop in $100 and you drop $20 in value, after a week you would have yielded it back, let alone the coins moving together. And they're kind of bottomed out. So I think you always kind of want to get coins at the bottom. Now one of them has gone up. So if Fartcoin goes up, you swap all to useless. Now that's not always a bad thing because useless could be going up as well. So it all depends on Solana's price as well because their liquidities are mainly in Solana. Now, forget the meme coins. Let's look at some assets that are pretty solid in general. And let's look at Bitcoin. Now, I don't have enough liquidity right now in the market to actually be doing these things, but you can actually be very creative with this stuff. So we're yielding um, Bitcoin Solana is still zero point 0.1, but this is a Monday morning. The weekend's volume is extremely low, so it's not very, it doesn't give a good reading, but it's probably a bit double what that is. And even if we jump into it, look, you can kind of see for the whole of November they've moved together and they jump up and then it flatlines again. So you just have to maybe adjust once every 2 weeks, judging by this chart, I would say. And if you look at this, we're getting a very healthy 0.3% on a 5% range. If you've done a 5% range of Bitcoin and USDC, chances are you'd be heavily out of range within a few days or hours even. Yeah, so you get you can warrant doing smaller ranges with these together. And you don't necessarily have to put USDC in. Personally, I do a mix. I do USDC pools and I do pools like this. This is one of my favorite pools. This is a very high performing pool for me and one I typically always have open. It's a 0.16 range fee, and it has Bitcoin and Solana. So for me, if I'm on Solana, I could always do with more Solana, and I love Bitcoin, and I always want more Bitcoin. So I always have this pool open, and I recommend it as a second pool for every single person. And everyone that I train up in yield farming, I always recommend it. If you want to go in with a nice 20-25% range, you can still, it's a bit wide in my opinion. I don't think they're going to actually. So could break out against Bitcoin. I think that's what's going to happen, but I would go a bit smaller, maybe 16%, 15%. Let's go 17 because it looks too wide and we're wasting our liquidity holding it up there. So I think something like that, 15%. Remember, you always want to get zero point 0.1 at least. So let's go with 15%, and that's perfect. This is like a set and forget. Now, the only reason I wouldn't buy right now is I think Solana might depeg this and move up faster than Bitcoin does if there is a relief rally coming forward. That's the only reason I wouldn't look at it. But be very adventurous. You can look at Bitcoin and maybe MicroStrategy together. Yeah, you can look at Bitcoin and Tesla. See, no one's made this pool. And I have it in the back of my mind. Stocks and crypto you compare together now. MicroStrategy and Bitcoin. Let's see. MicroStrategy and Solana. That's a very low pool, but it's yielding okay. But I think it's very going to be. It's pretty solid together. Look, you can kind of see we're getting 0.5% nearly, or just over, and it's pretty much stayed in range in that range. So you can maybe even be a bit more adventurous and try and get a 1% on that. That's something where Tesla and MicroStrategy together, these are stocks that are in there. So they've also got the gold ETF thing. So you compare Bitcoin with gold. Does Bitcoin move with gold? I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's see. Wrapped Bitcoin. Wrapped Bitcoin. And is there any gold? Gold. Did anyone make the pool? Somebody did. They put 15,000 TVL and they put a 1% pool, which I don't think is going to get much volume. But it's kind of moving solid-ish together. It just depends. They typically have moved together in historically, but I think the ranges are a bit off at the moment. I think gold is on an uptrend against Bitcoin, so we might get a little pullback. But it's totally up to you. Be very creative with it. Two meme coins together. Now, if you do a full range position, you can as well with these. They go up in value together quite heavily. So if you buy early on two meme coins and you pair them together, they can do exceptionally well. Yeah. Apart from Bitcoin, everything is a meme coin. These are two Solana and Bonk is two meme coins together. They go up, they go down. It's two pairs. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, found it useful. I'll wrap up this series so my whole channel doesn't become about just, a beginner's guide to yield farming. I wish you all the best, guys. message me on Telegram, leave a comment. I'll always reply. I wish you all the best and take care.